Mingo Paint,
Pepsodent Charcoal and Pepsodent Herbal.
EcoBank.
Spokesperson for the Movement for Change, Solomon Owusu, describes the decision by the main opposition New Patriotic Party to grant amnesty to all its suspended members as insincere.
In the bulletin, all is set as Ghana readies itself to roll out age-based nationwide HPV vaccination in 3 weeks, aiming to reduce cervical cancer infections and promote long-term public health.
Also coming up, staying active and eating healthy. We will tell you about the story of one woman's lifestyle changes and how it is making the journey through menopause smoother.
And later on the foreign front, U.S. President Donald Trump's special envoy says Russian President Vladimir Putin has agreed to robust security guarantees for Ukraine, including a potential NATO-style defense arrangement. Welcome to the broadcast. We have details of these stories and a lot more in the world of sports and entertainment coming to you beginning from here.
We're starting off with health, as Ghana is to adopt an age-based approach instead of the grade-based approach as the country readies for the nationwide human papilloma virus HPV vaccination campaign in 3 weeks' time in the quest to reduce the risk of HPV infection in the country. Acting Programs Manager for the expanded program on immunization at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Selom Kuchwasi, emphasized the vaccine's efficacy, reassuring the public of its safety.
Ghana is set to launch a nationwide human papilloma virus vaccination campaign aimed at protecting young girls from cervical cancer, a leading cause of death among women in the country. The vaccination drive, scheduled for September, will target approximately 2.26 million girls in the 9 to 14-year age cohort. Government has confirmed the availability of sufficient vaccine doses delivered by UNICEF. The vaccine targets 3 strains of the virus and aims to protect young girls from developing cervical cancer in the next 20 years. According to the acting programs manager of the expanded program on immunization, the vaccine has been proven safe and effective.
It's very efficacious. There's been work that has been done to ensure that it's useful within our current system, which is why we've gone for that particular vaccine. And what we are bringing in has the added benefit of being able to protect against what we call genital warts, which is also another sexually transmitted infection caused by two other strains of the HPV vaccine. We are actually quite prepared to start the work. The vaccines are coming as a single dose pack, so it's quite a huge quantity. And because of our routine activities, we are keeping them here at the national level, but within the next month, they should start moving down to the regions, then to the districts for deployment.
While the vaccination campaign is a significant step in reducing cervical cancer, she acknowledged the need for additional measures such as screening and early detection.
This time we are looking at age, so we are not saying that if you are in class, let's say class 3 or class 4, you should take it. We are saying that 9 to 14 years for the campaign and 9 years when we put it into the routine use. And this is because with the grade base, sometimes you end up having people who are much, much older in those classes, especially those in the rural areas. You know how these things go. So when that happens is that a lot of those older girls may have already had sexual debut. And it's important to the vaccine before your first sexual experience.
Cervical cancer is a public health challenge in Ghana, with an estimated 2,797 new cases diagnosed annually and approximately 1,699 deaths recorded each year. The introduction of the HPV vaccine is expected to drastically reduce cervical cancer cases and improve health outcomes for women in Ghana.
Let's have a discussion on this. Dr. Amagane is an obstetrician and a gynecologist, and she joins us via phone. Doc, good evening to you, and thank you for joining us on News 360. Now, we've heard a lot about cervical cancer, but can you tell us more about the impact it has on women?
Thank you for having me. So cervical cancer is cancer of the mouth of the womb, or basically cancer of the cervix, which is the lower part of the womb. It is caused by a virus most cases are caused by a virus called the human papilloma virus. Once a woman starts having sex, a lot of women would contract the human papilloma virus. Most women will clear it by themselves. Their bodies will get rid of this virus. But in a few women, you have what we call persistent infection with the human papilloma virus. And in these women, the persistent infection would go on to develop into a precancerous lesion and ultimately into cervical cancer. Cervical cancer is actually the second commonest cancer in females in Ghana and is the second cause of cancer-related death in women in Ghana. In 2022, a little over 3,000 women in Ghana had cervical cancer and almost about 2,000 of them died. So when you work it out, it means that about 6 out of 10 women who get cervical cancer in Ghana will die. So the disease burden is actually quite huge. Usually and unfortunately, when women eventually show symptoms of cervical cancer and present to a hospital for treatment, they are usually in the advanced stages where a lot may not be offered by way of treatment. So it's quite important that cervical cancer, one, is prevented and then picked up in early stages where treatment can be offered.
So this HPV vaccine rollout, how important is it to the prevention and management of cervical cancer?
It is actually quite critical to the prevention of cervical cancer. It's so important that the WHO has a call to action to eliminate cervical cancer by the year 2030. And the first part of this strategy is that 90% of all girls between 9 and 14 years worldwide receive the HPV vaccine, 90%. So Ghana is on track, and even though we have a long way to go, fortunately we are about to start in September.
Before this initiative by government, how would you describe the demand for the HPV vaccine privately by your clients in the clinic?
So HPV is not a virus that a lot of Ghanaians know about. Most women don't even know what causes cervical cancer. A few who do know would ask for the vaccine. They would ask for themselves or they would ask for their young girl children. Unfortunately, it is not readily available in Ghana at the moment. Very few health facilities stock it. And these facilities which stock it have it priced quite high. So it's not easily accessible or affordable to the average Ghanaian.
When it comes to vaccinations, there are a lot of misconceptions and myths. How are you going to handle this during the campaign?
I think we want all Ghanaians to know that the HPV vaccine has been in the system for almost 20 years. It was first used in the U.S. As far back as 2006. And it has been studied extensively, all of the side effects. And what we know is that it is very safe. The HPV vaccine is really safe, and it is critical to prevent cervical cancer.
Much for that education, Doc. Dr. Amagane is an obstetrician and a gynecologist there, giving us an education on cervical cancer.
Let's do some politics now, from health to politics now to the camp of the opposition, the NPP. The main opposition party, the New Patriotic Party, it has granted amnesty to all its members who were suspended, as well as those whose disciplinary cases are pending. This is contained in a press release dated August 16, 2025, and signed by the acting national chairman, Dankwa Smith Bute. According to the statement, the National Council took the decision at its emergency meeting held on Friday, July 25 this year. The statement added that the move is in the interest of unity and reconciliation. The directive, according to the statement, lifts all suspensions and waives any ongoing proceedings against affected members. Now, members who have forfeited their membership have been asked to submit a formal application to the National Secretariat for reinstatement.
Meanwhile, spokesperson for the Movement for Change, Solomon Owusu, says the decision by the main opposition New Patriotic Party is insincere. He spoke earlier on Weekend Central.
Yes, it's supposed to apply to me, but I don't see what the New Patriotic Party is doing to ask it to bring members back. I mean, this is one of the most insincere releases that I have ever witnessed in recent times. If I would be allowed, let me give you a background as to why they hurriedly had to organize this press release on the 16th of August 2025. I mean, Mr. Alan Tremantin had done an interview which was to be aired on Saturday. And in that interview, we started sharing some of the essence of it. So the party got wind of the fact that there was a question that contained the future political aspiration of Mr. Alan Tremantin. So through the MPP's own ingenuity, they got through the back door, they got to know that Mr. Alan Tremantin had declared that he would take part in election 2028 using a different vehicle. And so what did the party decide to do? Quickly put up a message just to sway the minds of the teeming support base of Mr. Alan Tremantin to ask it to go back to the New Patriotic Party. That is all to it. It is not genuine. It is not sincere. If you read the second stanza or the second paragraph of their own letter, if it is from you, you would realize that they claim an emergency meeting was held on the 25th of July, 2025. Is that not the case? Emergency meetings are conducted to discuss emergency matters. And when those emergency matters are discussed and decisions are taken, it is immediately released. How on earth would you go and organize an emergency meeting on the 25th of July, 2025, and wait 23 days after that before you release the outcome of that meeting? It tells you how insincere they are, and that it was only because of the interview that was granted by Mr. Alan Tremantin on Panagino's TV that he declared boldly that he will be taking part in election 2028, and that is why they have come out with this release. Again, if you read the release carefully, all that they are saying is that Alan Tremantin and his members must return back to the MPP, but should only come and be partakers.
Well, let's have a conversation on the back of this and speak with Dr. Jonathan Asante-Ochoa. He's a political analyst. Doc, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Now, since the news break, a lot of conversations, interesting ones, have been happening, and people are picking different signals. There's a group of people that believe that this amnesty signals desperation. There are those who think that it is a strategic foresight on the part of the NPP. From where you sit, how do you see this?
Well, thank you, Crosby. Let me say good evening to your viewers and to your good self. I think that when you err along the line, certainly you want to make such certain amends. The point is that the NPP is at a crossroads, and of course they will want to correct all the errors they might have committed along the line. And that obviously includes the lives of Afoko and so on and so forth. And so to, as it were, decide that you want to grant such an amnesty, I think that it is in order. But the same amnesty, there is a clause, there is a clause or a caveat, so to speak. And so such a caveat in itself creates a certain kind of doubt whether it is really an entire amnesty, because it is not everybody who might have wronged the party. Some might have wronged certain individuals that might have, taken the issue to the disciplinary committees and so on and so forth. And so, if you want to grant an amnesty, I think that there shouldn't have been any caveat. Now, the other thing too is that you are supposed to fill a form. Now, that form is supposed to take you through the process of reinstatement. And when you get reinstated, you do not qualify to contest for any position within the party, for the next 2 years. And obviously that would mean that it will take you out of anything or any activity as far as the 2028 elections and other executive positions are concerned.
Right.
So that in itself will take you to about 2032, right? Or 2030, when they might have done other internal, elections. And so I think that it is a good gesture, but the caveat there in itself would be some kind of disincentive for others who may willingly have decided to join or rejoin.
Now, Doc, to what extent does this move reflect a failure of the party's disciplinary structures, and what precedent does it set for future misconduct?
Well, whichever way you look at it, I think that to a large extent it will serve the party's interest. To some extent, it may not. And so it may not be a fair accompli kind of decision on the part of the party. Of course, we use human beings to build a political party, and you need the numbers on your side. There is some level of desperation on the part of the party, as it were, to ensure that they bring everybody on board. That in itself is good. But if the desperation in itself, echoes some kind of insincerity, they may not get the desired result that they are looking forward to. Apart from that, the current leadership in itself, it's some kind of disincentive, behind the current leadership. And so there are others who may decide that, well, they are enjoying their peace, all the bras surrounding the party, the current leadership that have demonstrated some kind of disrespect to some who have been founding fathers of the party, like the Deputy General Secretary, speaking anyhow to Dr. Nyahu Taboko, to the point that, he has been excommunicated, he's no longer a member of the party, he's no longer even a founder.
Right.
Such gross disrespect in itself may not inure to the benefit of the party. And I think that what the statesman Kwame Pielim said last week there about is something that they may have to take on board. And all of these things that they are doing, I think, is in order. They may have to demonstrate that kind of sincerity and readiness to bring everybody on board without unnecessary caveats that may put impediment in the way of others.
Dr. It brings me to this question about the possible implications. Now, could lifting the suspensions simply re-empower disgruntled factions and fuel further internal power struggles? Is that a possibility?
Well, to a larger extent, it will solve some of these problems, but they still have that internal contest, ahead of them. That in itself could be the make or break, of the party. So it is a good gesture, probably because Mr. Kennedy Japan said something to that effect. Maybe they've taken that issue on board. That is good. But let us see how it goes in terms of implementation and how time, will create a situation where they will be able to solve all their internal problems.
And finally from me, Doc, and briefly, how might voters interpret this mass reinstatement, particularly those who may have abandoned the NPP due to perceived arrogance, corruption, or internal disunity?
Crosby, can you come again? I didn't
So
get
what I'm asking is, how might voters interpret this mass reinstatement for those who left the party due to what they call as arrogance, corruption, or internal disunity?
Well, obviously, if I got your question rightly, these things are major problems hanging around, the previous government in terms of the party. We could see that those who have gone out of the party, like Movement for Change, for example, I don't see them returning to the fold of the NPP. Because whether this gesture is a sincere one or not, only time will tell. But definitely the corruption, the arrogance of power, the pride, the disrespect and other things, they may have to display, some kind of sincerity in the public domain with respect to some of these negatives that have affected, the current leadership and those who are in government. Other than that, the party will no longer be attractive to the youth and others who have left the party.
Dr. Ochre, thank you. Thank you so much for your time with us on the program. Dr. Jonathan Asante-Ochre is a political analyst sharing his thoughts with us there.
Moving on, as Ghana and families of the AIDS helicopter crash victims continue to mourn the loss of loved ones and investigations progress, calls have intensified for transparency and improved disaster preparedness. There are also growing calls for the government to equip the military and for the depoliticization of critical defense spending. There's more in the following report.
With all 8 victims of the helicopter crash now buried, questions are being asked about what happened. Kenyans await the final report of the investigations into what may have caused the tragic accident. Former Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Emmanuel Bombande, speaking on the key points, noted that the public must be educated on the role of security agencies during rescue missions.
How is it possible that civilians can go into that forest and be carrying plastic or metal pieces of a crash plane and standing and videoing themselves? How are we informing ourselves as a people about the respect that must come along, how we deal with these matters? Somebody has to do that, and maybe for the lack of the complete information, it has to be our Commission for Civic Education. How do civilians interact with military, vice versa, particularly when it comes to a tragedy such as this?
Aeronautics expert and aircraft accident investigator Professor Kwesi Ejikum raised concerns about residents taking parts of the wreckage from the recent military helicopter crash site.
In the ideal world, we want the crash site to be secured. We don't want folks to tamper with. And one of the key information we want to send out to the public is that an aircraft crash site is hazardous. We will still appeal to those who have taken part that, hey, we want you to bring it back, so that we get everything back. And then if we have to do a physical reconstruction of the helicopter in the hangar, we have most of the components.
Vice President of Imani Africa, Kofi Bento, said that the growth of the aviation sector, more aircraft accidents are likely to occur. He added that the security agencies, especially the Army, have standard operation procedures they follow during rescue operations, as was seen in the recent crash.
It is because whenever you have a situation of inadequate resources, which is always the situation, where you have a situation like ours, which is even more crucial, more acute, your protocols, your policies, your a priori systems thought through that if this happens, this is what will happen, is what helps you to maximize resource use and to get the best outcomes out of circumstances like this. So indeed, that's very important.
Security expert Colonel Festus Abuaje dismissed claims that the military helicopter exploded mid-air. He commended state institutions for their professional handling of the situation.
The plane had left Takoradi. We know that it left Takoradi on 2nd August on a medivac, not that it flew empty. Right. It brought a patient to Accra. But because there was a mission, a VIP mission on the 6th, all 3 of them who had come with the plane from Takoradi stayed in Accra. This would suggest that the plane, as of the 2nd, was airworthy. This idea that some people are, pejorative, whatever it is, in the media spaces, though the plane had a hazard and so on, it's not very likely. At least not during the 27 minutes.
CEO of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Professor Ransford Jampo, said that the government must procure more helicopters for the military and advised that this conversation should not be politicized.
Going forward, with the implementation of policies that would ensure that these things, even when they occur, we are able to better manage them. There will be the need for more helicopters, modern helicopters to be procured. Those old ones that will have to be retrofitted or repaired, we would have to spend resources in doing them. And I'm saying that when we get there, we should be careful that we don't subject them to partisan discourse. Otherwise, then it's like democracy is not able to protect itself.
Now, funeral rites for the helicopter crash victims have been climaxed with a Thanksgiving service at the Christ the King Church amidst high-powered government attendance. My colleague Stanley Nibleu, he attended the mass and reports.
Following the burial ceremony of the 8 individuals who perished in the helicopter crash. Families, friends and government officials converged on the Christ the King Church to offer thanks in honor of the late Defense Minister, Dr. Edward Omanibuama, and Wing Commander Peter Anala. The bereaved families also expressed gratitude to the state for arranging a befitting burial for their departed loved ones. The President, John Dramani Mahama, the First Lady, Lordina Mahama, Vice President, Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, Chief of Staff, Julius Deborah and his deputy were among the dignitaries who joined the parish for the Mass. Other dignitaries who attended the service included Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Pandect Esiama, Foreign Minister, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, Health Minister, Kwabena Minta Akando, and Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Kofi Amaboa.
All glory and honor is yours forever and ever.
The Mass was led by the parish priest, Reverend Father Dr. Ebenezer Akese. In his sermon, the priest underscored death as an ordeal that weighs heavily on bereaved families, but stressed that there is hope for the departed, who will be resurrected when Christ returns. He also reflected on sin, stressing that the company one keeps could either lessen or aggravate it, urging the faithful to live chaste and fulfilling lives at all times.
Sometimes, the sufferings that we go through are not because we do something wrong. It is only because we are pursuing the cause of right. And those who are not on the side of right will oppose us. Have the strength to do that which we know is right, even if it is unpopular.
He further prayed and invoked blessings on the families of Dr. Edward Omanibuama and Wing Commander Peter Anala. After the service, President John Dramani Mahama briefly fraternized with the congregants before departing the premises. Stanley Nibleu, TV3 News, Accra.
May their souls continue to rest in peace. This is News 360. We are going for a short break. We'll return with some more stories. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's bring you some more stories now. And it's a stage every woman will go through, but how you prepare for it can make a difference. Menopause often comes with hot flashes, mood swings, and other discomforts, but experts say a healthy lifestyle can change that story. Safo Abuahe brings us the journey of one woman whose active, healthy habits are making menopause feel almost invisible.
At age 66, Letitia starts most mornings in a small home gym, pushing, pedaling, and proving that age is just a number. While many women her age battle intense menopausal symptoms, Letitia says she hardly notices she is in that stage of life.
Because of my lifestyle, I think I didn't expect it. I didn't know it was going to start from that time. Because my life was normal. I wake up in the morning, I do my stretches, I do my walk, and I'm ready to go. So, honestly, since 2012, I've gone through stop of menstrual period, but no negative effect, no serious sweating, nothing. So there was a time I was asking myself that, is my menopause different from other women's menopause?
Her turning point came years ago when she developed back pain, and looking at her family's medical history, it became the wake-up call she needed.
My father died at the age of 41 of stroke. He was hypertensive. My siblings, I can say that I'm the only person who is fit. The others are not too strong and healthy as we are talking. Knowing all this, I said no. I don't think I would want to go through this line because it is just me and my husband.
Public health experts confirm her experience is not just coincidence.
There is enough statistical evidence and well established that there is a positive correlation between living a healthy lifestyle and also improvement in the signs and symptoms that you show when you have menopause. Once you are within your menopause stage, you don't stress, because if you rest more, research has shown that you will experience less of the severity of the clinical features that we are talking about. And then exercising, turning around, deep breathing exercise, doing Kegel exercise.
While Letitia experiences only minor symptoms, others told us about the challenges they or their relatives faced at the stage.
My experience was with my mom holding a kitchen stool and asking us to go and look for it. So we went around to look for it, and later on we came to know that he was holding it, and we just laughed. We were just teasing her. So that was one funny thing.
And the amount of film, it be a show. The Saturday day, a muyu, but over Phyllis a show though.
Symptoms include heat, anger, and mood changes triggered by certain foods that should be avoided.
It's me before your day. And mom.
Bibi na o se ode to happen na we afi owi a obechi no sa afi obego kon no ni na e menopause.
They forget where they place things, get angry quickly, and sometimes behave like children.
So ye ni menopause ni no ye obi so ho de a ne de ba obesu ti se akwala.
Some of them cry like children, forget they've eaten, misplace things and accuse others, and talk for long periods. From the health expert, lifestyle choices can determine not just when menopause begins, but how intense its symptoms become.
The usual age is around 51 to 52 years, but then averagely between 45 to 55 years, people get menopause. Up until recently, we are even having people less than 40 experiencing menopause. Research has shown that exposure to heavy metals, this include lead, mercury, we can talk about cadmium, we can talk about arsenic, among other metals. Releasing this chemical in the water can have effects once you drink it as a woman. Over time, it can affect your fertility. Exposure to radiations is also one of the factors. Smoking, once you smoke or you get exposed to this, it has a way of affecting your hormonal production, especially with your estrogen.
You cannot avoid menopause, but you can control how it affects you. Doctors say that starting early with a healthy lifestyle can mean the difference between struggling through it and thriving during it. Safa Boini, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, away from that, on the eve of Good Friday this year, a young Nigerian woman known as Beauty, she lost her life. This enclave has experienced repeated loss of both residential and commercial property as a result of these fires. Nura Suglu Mohammed has filed this report.
On the eve of Good Friday this year, a young Nigerian woman known as Beauty lost her life. She was one of many residents in the Red Cross slums in Medina, which has been the bout of many discussions on the catastrophic fire outbreaks on numerous occasions in the last 4 years. A clear pattern has been recognized. In what seems to be an annual ritual, this enclave has experienced recurring loss of residential and commercial property. Further research into this shows that in the month of June 2022, more than 20 structures razed down. In late January the following year, just 6 months after, a similar incident occurred, claiming even more property, leaving the dwellers of the slums utterly devastated and stranded. In May that same year, a night fire razed dozens of shops. Another blaze was recorded on the 24th of December later that year. In 2024, the Medina Market Complex was reported engulfed in fire, causing millions in losses to traders. 3 separate fire outbreaks have erupted in the congested Red Cross settlement just this year alone, and all these incidents occurred in the span of 3 months. The Ghana National Fire Service has expressed its concern for the incessant outbreaks in the same areas and has called it a national security issue that needs to be urgently tackled. Speaking to the Chief Public Relations Officer at the National Headquarters, Mr. Desmond Esun Aka revealed the genesis of these recurrent fires.
Anytime fires have gutted the slum community, we are challenged, especially with access getting to the seat of the fire, because the structures are haphazardly put together. They have no regard for fire safety. What is also common in the slum community is illegal wiring. Therefore, people have turned these shelters into residential facilities. They do business there, and then they do all manner of things.
Many citizens have questioned authorities of the area. Is the Municipal Assembly doing its job to stop the reconstruction of makeshift wooden and metal structures? They also wonder if efforts will be made to revamp or clear the area for good.
Because these people are low-income earners, they hardly have the financial wherewithal to be able to rent this apartment, and therefore would want to make do with these makeshift wooden structures and metal containers. Local authorities, the assemblies, must ensure that these slum communities do not come up in the first place. The local authority must step in so that wherever we allocate for them, safety is given premium.
Some Ghanaians seem to have lost faith in the fire service operators for their delays in response when called, albeit the institution argues otherwise.
We have maintained that there's always a clear difference between the time the fire starts and the time it is reported to us. We say that early calls warrants swift response.
Fire outbreaks are mostly caused by human activity. While accidents can trigger a blaze in some occasions, adhering to fire safety precautions in our homes, offices, marketplaces and communities may just be the key to ending this menace. Now the questions remain. Will the Assembly act to ensure proper fire safety precautions are observed in the area? Will this be the last of the Red Cross fires? Only time will tell. Nura Suglu Mohammed for TV3 News, Accra.
President John Dramani Mahama has departed Accra on an official 2-country visit to Japan and Singapore. The visits are aimed at strengthening bilateral relations, enhancing trade and investment opportunities, and deepening cooperation on shared development priorities. A statement signed by spokesperson to the President and Minister for Government Communications, Felix Kwachiofosu, said in Japan, President Mahama will participate in the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development. At the conference, President Mahama will deliver a presentation at a plenary session focused on promoting trade and investment. President Mahama will also headline the Ghana Presidential Investment Forum, showcasing Ghana's economic potential and highlighting the Resetting Ghana agenda. While in Tokyo, President Mahama will hold a series of high-level bilateral meetings with key Japanese stakeholders, including the President of Japan International Cooperation Agency, senior officials of the Japan External Trade Organization, and the Prime Minister of Japan, Shigeru Ishiba. Following his engagements in Japan, President Mahama will travel to Singapore for a 3-day state visit.
Well, the former South African President Jacob Zuma is in Ghana to attend the 2025 edition of the University of Professional Studies Leadership Lecture. Jacob Zuma is the guest speaker at the lecture to be held on the theme, the geopolitics and geoeconomics of de-dollarization, BRICS currency strategy, lessons for Africa's common currency and beyond. Now, the lecture will take place on Tuesday, 19th August, at the Kofi Ohene Konedu Auditorium, UPSA at 4 p.m. The event is expected to bring together leaders from academia, diplomats, finance, and the broader policy community to explore the implications of global currency shifts and their relevance to Africa's economic future. The UPSA Annual Leadership Lecture is a flagship event that provides a platform for thought leadership and policy discourse on issues of national and international significance.
In more news this evening, the acting Chief Justice of Ghana, His Lordship Justice Paul Bafoboni, has announced that he will be out of the country from Monday, August 18 to Thursday, August 28, 2025. In a circular dated August 13, 2025, Justice Bafoboni stated that during his absence, the most senior justice of the Supreme Court, His Lordship Justice Gabriel Pamang, will serve as acting Chief Justice. The notice distributed to all justices of the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, High Court, and heads of judicial divisions and units was also copied to members of the Judicial Council, the General Legal Council, and the Acting Judicial Secretary. Justice Bafoboni, who assumed the role of Acting Chief Justice following the suspension of Chief Justice Gertrude Tokonu, extended his compliments in the official communication.
Well, tonight, what will you do if you found a snake in your compound? Will you safely drive it out or you will kill it? Find out more in this report.
Snakes play a vital role in the ecosystem by controlling rodent populations and serving as prey for other animals. Understanding their importance in the ecosystem, respecting their space, and taking precautions to avoid encounters, especially in areas where venomous snakes are present, has been identified as key ways of protecting the existence of snakes. Naturally, snakes are said to be harmless until they feel disturbed or threatened. At a training workshop for some selected personnel of the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission at the Moli National Park in Damango, participants were taken through safe snake handling techniques.
Many times, doing nothing is just fine. These are just animals being in nature. So a more judicious approach to when human intervention is actually needed, and shifting from fear and mythology to respect. Respect is fine, respecting these animals and that they can be dangerous. A few of them can be dangerous.
Some of the participants shared their experiences.
My perception about snakes have really changed. I've come to realize after this training that snakes are indeed harmless. And they are very interesting and very important animals that we should try and live in harmony with. The message I have for people out there is that when you see a snake, just leave it. Don't try to attack it or harm it. They don't want to bite us, they don't want to harm us, but they strike when they feel threatened or they feel danger that you want to attack. As soon as you don't attack and you leave them, they will go their way. So let's leave them so that the ecosystem will be balanced. We need them because they are very important. They play important role, and then they are the middle of food chain or food web. So we need them to live with. Let's make our minds that they are part of our lives, and then we should be ready to live in harmony with them.
So we are told to respect snakes.
That's what the story said. But what would you do if you find a snake in your compound? Would you drive it out or you kill it?
I mean, we don't even respect mosquitoes. It's the snakes that we'll respect. I'm sorry, but if there's a snake there, don't you have to kill it and save yourself?
Well, they're trying to advise us not to attack it, leave it to enjoy its space. They're part of the ecosystem.
Thank you very much for that advice. This is News 360. We have some sports news next. Stay with us.
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle, from the heart of the...
Welcome back to the broadcast. Sports News is up next with Bilish. And Bill, good to see you. I know you're here for sports, but I'd like to pick your thoughts on this. So you're in your bedroom and you find a snake. What would be your first reaction?
I'll say, Your Snake Highness, good evening.
And respect it.
And I'll respect the snake. Hey, they expect me to respect you.
Bring us sports, Bill.
Good evening. Hello, welcome to the sports segment here on News 360. My name is Billy Shen. Now, the 2025 Besset Manche Homo War Peace Charity Cup between Hearts of Oak and Pando Hearts of Lions has come to a close, and the Phobians defeated their opponents by 2-0 to win the trophy.
Chance for Hearts of Oak, and that's the opening goal. Hearts of Oak are up by 1-0. Debut goal for Duku. Frank Duku has opened his current account for the Phobians. But he's giving it away cheaply, and Hearts of Oak will send the heat on the Lions. Here's Hamza Issa. Can he get a second? Hamza is racing towards goal. It's Hamza, and he's made it 2-0 for the Phobians. Hamza Issa with a pure butcher's finish. The composure, the calmness. Hearts of Oak doubled their lead here at the Accra Sports Stadium.
Moving on to some other stories, Manchester United's expensively assembled new forward line drew a blank as Arsenal began their quest for the Premier League title by grinding out a 1-0 win at Old Trafford. Now, world champions Chelsea failed to find the net as they drew 0-0 with Crystal Palace.
In they go. Declan Rice. Brian Deere couldn't keep it out. Calafiori heads. Arsenal celebrate the opening goal at Old Trafford. It's another Arsenal goal.
Man City defeated Wolves by 4-0. Chelsea drew 0-0 with Crystal Palace. Nottingham Forest defeated Brentford 3-1, and Manchester United lost 1-0 to Arsenal. That's it for the sports segment here on News360. My name is Bill Lishen. Entertainment is up next.
Entertainment news segment is brought to you by GTP Lifestyle and Napa Foods. Heaven Black Insecticide Spray and Coil. Powered by 3 Entertainment.
In entertainment news this evening, versatile Ghanaian artist Che Nyum has opened up about the intense challenges of navigating the music industry as an independent act. According to him, surviving the fierce competition without the backing of a record label is extremely difficult. Speaking candidly about his journey as an unsigned artist, Che Nyum emphasized that musicians signed to labels benefit from crucial support, structured promotion, and access to industry resources.
And at the content creation, they pay more.
I mean, yeah, it's better. And I then free new my bokkasa.
Oh, sir.
Oh, I know. If you don't have a label, when Dub Nation came, they were mentioning that, oh, you can do the song on, you know, if you do a money on.
Oh.
You can't. You need a label. Else the evidence is going to be so clear when you're on a record label and when you are not on a record label. It will be the different with talent. There is nothing wrong with it than trying to do everything by yourself.
Yeah.
I realized that most of the record labels in Ghana, they have DJs on payroll.
Really?
Yeah. Most of them, they are on payroll. They don't pay them as much, but they don't also wait to release a song before
they sort them out.
They sort them out. Into a maybe I bet home, Charlie 500 in your fuel. And so when a song drops from an artist from their label, like when a Kwame Eugene song drops, and guess the number, they were about 30 or 35. So if you have 30 DJs in Accra,
scattered across.
In Accra, Kumasi has like 20. If you have Takrady, maybe 15. If you have maybe Volta, 10 solid DJs, and you're sorting all these people out just to make sure that when the song comes out, they all go in their numbers and then play for you. If you leave this record label, how are you going to sort all these people out? And it's just a single message. So and so is no longer.
Find attached,
Well, that's your entertainment news. Let's now bring you some international news.
U.S. President Donald Trump's special envoy says Vladimir Putin has agreed to robust security guarantees for Ukraine. Steve Witkoff described the proposal as game-changing. It follows Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky telling a news conference, "We need security to work in practice as part of any peace deal." Meanwhile, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and several other European leaders will join Zelensky for a meeting with President Trump at the White House on Monday. A prominent Sudanese human rights group has accused the country's army and security forces of torturing people to death and operating execution chambers. The emergency lawyers group said it had documented hundreds of arrests in the capital, Khartoum. It said that, in the worst cases, some captives had later been found dead with evidence of torture. The Sudanese army recaptured the city from the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces RSF in March, against which it is fighting a bitter civil war that has killed tens of thousands in 2 years. Throughout the war, the emergency lawyers group had documented atrocities by both the army and the RSF. Thousands of residents have fled Gaza City's southern Zaytoum neighborhood, where days of continuous Israeli bombardment have created a catastrophic situation. The Israeli military said it would begin allowing tents to be brought into Gaza by aid agencies again.
And that's our package tonight. Well, there's always more news on our website, 3news.com. I am Noble Crosby Annan.
And I am Ayisha Yakubu. GMB is up next. And tonight, our ladies will be celebrating the 8 gallant men that we lost in that tragic helicopter crash. Stay tuned and enjoy.
Bye-bye.